Self-educated health professionals. That's what I like about these classes is I don't have to teach all of it. I get to learn along with you guys. Anyway, we're going to talk about energy tonight. And I think through the discussion, we're going to start seeing energy from a little different point of view. And hopefully by the end of the class, we'll all recognize at least a half a dozen simple things that we can do to either conserve or stop destroying the energy so much, maybe even generate a little bit more. Now, of course, a lot of people around us believe in this process called aging, and so it's implied that once you hit a certain level that things start going down the drain, and energy is one of these. The ability to produce energy starts becoming less available. And I think if we take a look at where energy comes from, how it's produced, and see that all the components are still there, maybe what we need to do is just start implementing a few techniques to assist in the production, accumulation, or whatever it is, and at least stop wasting that we have. If we look at the life energy within the body, as we would the charge in a battery, and look at the quality of the battery to determine whether a battery can take a charge or not. Now, I think everybody in the room here is familiar with the fact that if a battery, what actually happens is the particles from the plates start accumulating in the bottom of the battery and build up and short the plates out. That's the difference between a 5-year battery and a 7-year battery, is the distance in the bottom that accumulates the particles until it shorts the battery out, and the battery will then no longer take a charge. Well, you can consider that similar to your adrenal glands. Adrenal glands can take a charge, and after a certain level of abuse, they seem to not be able to take a charge any longer. But let's first of all take a look at where energy comes from. In fact, what energy is. Whether it's energy produced from a generator that provides the electricity in the room, or an energy that emanates from another source. Energy is basically an essence that has the potential of action. It will accomplish something. Energy in the body, we can move the body or perform functions, perform work. As we see with the electricity that comes through the electrical wires, they produce lights, pictures, heat, cold, work. They accomplish work. Energy is all around us. What we want to do is figure out how to gather this and get it into our bodies, right? Who cares about all the other energy? It's just that charges our own personal battery. Well, first of all, where does our energy come from? Okay? On a daily basis, every one of our trillions of cells, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how many of these little rascals are there? The closest I could come up with was one theory that claimed that there's 37.2 trillion cells in the body. And each one of those is an electrical generator in two ways. One, directly, is what they call the sodium-potassium pump, where the fluid surrounding the cell has a different balance of sodium and potassium, and the sodium pushes its way into the cell, and then the potassium inside the cell helps to move it back out, and the movement of the sodium in and out of that cell actually functions just like a small electrical generator. Multiply that by 37.2 trillion times, and you produce energy. Okay? Now we're going to talk in a few minutes about what inhibits that, But let's go into a second source of energy, and that is the mitochondria within the cells. Okay, now some cells, like blood cells, won't have any. There are other cells, tissue cells, that will have maybe one, and then you get to like liver cells that can have up to about 200. And these are like little fuel producers. They will actually take specific components of nutrition and convert that into ATP, which is actually a fuel for the cell. Okay? So that's the second major generator of energy within the body. Now, where is the main source of energy coming from for our bodies? Food?
Digestion?
No.
Emotions?
Digestion?
See, this is why I said that tonight is going to be so exciting. Because we're going to come up with all of these ideas, and then we're going to kick them around and see what we're really talking about. Yes, David?
External vibratory energy, biophotonic, zero-point energy, magnetic, and the movement of the earth in all its different forms that create energetic fields. The universe is full of energy.
And PMS.
PMS, that's the wrong energy. That's positive ions, the same stuff that disease is made of. It kills husbands. But it is a very powerful source. Okay, what is the most direct source of all of the energy that David presented?
The sun.
The sun.
Say it too, Lydia.
So, how do we get the sun's energy from food?
Photosynthesis.
It's a transfer mechanism, right? Okay.
Chlorophyll, etc.
What's that?
Chlorophyll, and then if animals, carnivores eat.
It's that's the chlorophyll is kind of like taking the minerals of the earth and charging little batteries with sun energy, and we consume the sun's energy from the plants. Unless we kill it, of course. Okay? Now, everybody's heard of negative ions, right? Okay, negative ions are little sparks of energy, electrons. Where can we get a bunch of those?
The beach, ocean, waterfall.
The beach, how's that?
The waves, the water moving.
Okay, the waves generate negative ions. Where else can we get negative ions?
Salt water. Ocean.
Salt water because of the waves, but how else? While we're taking a trip to the beach, where's some other ways? What happens if you bury yourself in the sand? How
Like
is that?
grounding? You ground.
Like grounding. Yes, it's a transfer. Very powerful transfer. We can give up our positive ions to the earth in exchange for negative ions from the earth, again, from all those sources that collect in the earth. Look at all the ways that we can get energy. And instead we put tennis shoes on and run around indoors.
Could we get it from our grass too in our yard?
Yes.
Okay, good.
As long as you walk barefoot on the grass, that's a very excellent source.
So the Schumann resonance frequency was another source, but that has changed from 7.46 to now I guess it's 12 and 13.
Okay. I'm sure that most of us have heard of the shifting of the frequency of the earth and what an effect that has on us. As the frequency of the earth changes, it's like a tuning fork, and it affects us as well. That's another form of frequency. Our meridians, our chakras, we have antennae all around our bodies to receive energy. Now, how in the heck do we come up with a dead battery? Yes.
Caffeine.
Caffeine. Caffeine, white sugar.
When we block the natural receiving of these nature
How do we do that?
or God-given things, we become part of a corporatized entity in which we're being farmed. We go indoors, we're in buildings, synthetic fabrics, chemicals, everything that assaults us on a daily basis, including our thoughts, EMF, cell phones, etc.
Digestion,
What is that?
digestion,
Sitting.
Or the lack
sitting.
thereof?
EMS.
Boy, this is getting a little bit complicating now. What is the biggest thing that we do to destroy energy?
Worry.
Stress.
It's like a dead short. You want to hear a nasty way of perceiving the same idea? We honor fear. Now, who would ever want to be accused of honoring fear? That's kind of about as, yeah, that's like ridiculous. But yet, we can put energy into, we can put focus, we can direct our attention whichever way we want. Either honor life and things that bring more life into our lives, or we can honor fear and our stressors, put our focus on them, and keep in mind that the most powerful principle in our daily lives is the principle of focused attention. Wherever we direct the focus of our attention, we draw that subject matter to ourselves, we enlarge it in our lives, we put the spotlights on it, and we interweave it with our lives. It becomes a part of our lives. So when we honor our stress, when we honor our fears, and we spend energy focusing on that, it's just like taking one of the electric wires on our automobile and stabbing it into the frame and just shorting the battery out and just pulling the juice right down. All right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the undermining of the two major energy production systems within the body. Now, before we go there, though, let's go back to the sunshine. The best way of getting a direct battery charge. See, we can do like the plants. We can take energy directly from the sun, stimulate our brains by throwing the sunglasses away and letting the rays from the sun get into our brain. And keep in mind that all this protection from the sun with all these sun blockers and everything, that's worse for you than the sun by far, because the sun got a bad rap here. The main reason why people develop skin cancer from the sun isn't because it's so destructive, it's because the sun draws the toxic material from the blood and the lymph to the surface of the skin and destroys the skin. If we just poop it out, then the sun can't draw it to the surface of the skin, mess our skin up. But each one of us need a good 20 minutes every single day out in the sun, unprotected, with as much of our skin exposed to the sun as possible and our eyes looking at the sun. In fact, a fantastic daily exercise, if you live in a place where you can do this, is to watch the sunrise. And I mean watch the sun. Look at the sun as it's rising. It's low enough in the horizon to where it's not hard on your eyes. But you can actually get minerals from the sun by doing this. It'll charge trace minerals into your body. It's kind of like homeopathics. But you just, for about 15 minutes, as the sun's coming up, just look right into the sun and just feel the connection. And then in the evening, here it's nice because you can run down by the beach, bury your feet in the sand, and watch the sunset at the same time. Talk about a double whammy. Good idea? All right, we all meet on the beach tomorrow night. But that is two very, very easy ways. You know, you're right there by the waves breaking and producing negative ions. You have your feet buried in the wet sand, transferring negative ions for positive ions.
So you want negative ions. You want negative ions.
You want negative ions. Negative ions are good. These little salt rock lamps, that's what they're doing. They're generating negative ions. You know, they're, people with asthma or different respiratory problems, they get one of these and put it beside their bed. And if you have to, put something up to stop the light from keeping you awake, but have it close enough and you'll start relieving respiratory problems. Just with the negative ions from one of these little lamps. But as we think about all the things that we can do, you know, the cause of all disease is our self-destructive lifestyle habits. And so how do we turn that around? We start thinking of all the things in our lives that we could develop into habits that will give us more energy. You know, it's interesting, but the main cause, next to our stressors, the next main cause for energy loss is actually eating. I knew a woman up in Washington State years ago, and she had transitioned her dietary habits and everything. A lot of you have heard me talk about her in the past. And she did it a little bit too rapidly. She didn't take her time to detoxify, which was fine, but she got to the point where she was no longer eating. She was, to do this, it's kind of a physical thing and a spiritual thing, and you can do it in about 8 years if you really have that determination. But without any food, she would sleep at night with the windows open, even in the wintertime, because there are all the elements when we stop destroying the tissue cells of the body, there's enough elements in the air to provide the needs of the body to keep it working. The body becomes almost like it's atomic when we stop poisoning it to death. And this is where she almost was. What she would do is, in a 24-hour period, she would drink 4 ounces of a herbal laxative tea, because she felt that her body was still needing to detoxify. And so other than that 4 ounces of herbal tea to help her detoxify and keep her intestinal tract moving, she wouldn't eat or drink anything in a 24-hour period. And she would be busy all day long, living life at a level of energy that most of us can't even relate to. And she'd go till about 1 o'clock in the morning, then she'd lie down for 1 hour, take a 1 hour nap at 1 o'clock in the morning, then she'd get up and get busy again, do whatever she wanted to do, and then she'd lie down beside her husband at 5 o'clock and wake up with him at 6 o'clock. So in a 24-hour period, she took 2 1-hour naps. Okay? Proving the main reason why we need so much sleep is to try and neutralize the acid waste from cellular destruction and cellular function. Now, as you probably heard me say before, all of disease is made of poop. But we don't stop and think about what this is. This is a poison that destroys our cells and inhibits our ability to produce energy. And it's made up of chemicals, metals, dead tissue cells. The largest volume is unusable food residue, then mucus and acid waste. Okay? All of those components together make up the poison that we call poop. And it can be locked in our muscles, it can be trapped anywhere in the body. But the big problem is when this stuff starts accumulating, it's like Dr. Alexis Carrel said so many years ago, death and disease is not in the cell, it's in the fluid surrounding the cell. Now what that fluid is that we're talking about is actually the lymphatic system. It's the fluid that is supposed to carry the acid waste away from the tissue cells. Now, if we have a free-flowing system where the body is washed as it's designed to be with the lymphatic fluids, and the lymphatic fluid is able to come up here under the collarbones, be dumped into the bloodstream from there, be carried to the liver, dumped into the gallbladder, into the intestinal tract, and the waste material removed from the body, then everything works fine. But what starts happening is because we allow the gallbladder to accumulate, it backs the liver up. The liver is no longer able to keep the blood clean enough, and the brain tightens the muscles under the collarbones to stagnate the lymph. When the lymph starts backing up, it causes a back pressure into every cell in the body, and it starts accumulating waste material within the cell, which starts destroying the mitochondria. In this fluid also, it starts accumulating an acidic environment loaded excessively with sodium, imbalancing the sodium-potassium pumps and shutting those little electric generators down. So with that back pressure on all the cells in the body, we lose both abilities to produce energy. We destroy the mitochondria and we shut down the sodium-potassium pumps.
Can too many vitamins be a part of the problem of causing toxicity in your body?
Everything that is beyond the body's ability to utilize is waste material. It's toxic material, yes. So ODing on fantastic nutrients, all these highly concentrated foods. Stop and think about the average person. How every person in this room is very, very well educated. And you look back at the people that are staggering out of McDonald's, they eat at places like that all the time, and you think about how much nutrition is really in that food that they're getting, and how much energy is going to be robbed from the body to process that substance and eliminate it. Look at the deficit that the average body is going through, and it still is alive. So we've got to be careful that we don't overindulge in superfoods. Or vitamins, concentrated vitamins. You know, the body doesn't need that much if we stop poisoning it to death and if we stop destroying the energy. See, what we're looking for with all the vitamins and minerals and all the nutrients and everything is we're looking for more energy and for a higher quality of health. But at the same time, what we're really looking for is more energy, because if we had enough energy, the body could heal itself of most anything. So it's really energy that we're looking at. And so food isn't the answer. Supplements aren't the answer. We are the answer.
What about traumatic experiences?
Traumatic experiences, again, is exactly like taking one of those main electrical cables and cramming it into the frame of the car.
So they're traumatic experiences from the past, not that happened right in the current.
It doesn't matter when they occurred, because they're continually triggering up. Keep in mind that each one of us, when we chose the body that we did to go through the course of life, it's already programmed with the difficulties that we need to go through because of the process of triggering. Because these experiences that we carry from our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents inspire us to recreate the same thing over and over again. And that creates our difficulties. And we work with these until we master them. This is our course. Our course is programmed within the body that we chose. And when we no longer need to recreate these difficulties, we can go ahead and let the lessons, we can graduate. We don't have to keep learning the same lessons over and over again, and that's the reason for healing through the portals of time. is because if we take care of the work of neutralizing the stories, keep in mind that's all we carry in our DNA and our brain is a story. But as we all know, you can read a story that'll bring you to tears. Well, we got a lot of them right here that we carry with us. It not only had us recreating similar experiences, but they were our lesson in life. And a major drain, if you look at it from the position of energy. If we keep honoring fear and wallowing in these same experiences and recreating them, it's just like sitting in one place, spinning your wheels and not moving anywhere. And so that's the value of perception. Perception is to look at the difficulties in your life and recognize that they're different from the next person. Why do each of us have the specific, exact circumstances that we do? It's because of our expectations of life. We create it or we attract it. Why? Because of our expectations that we carry in the DNA. Okay? And so perception is very, very important. To take a look at the stressors in our lives and realize that every one of our personal stressors is there by our personal invitation. It's there for our benefit, no matter how painful or hurtful it is. What we need to do is take a look at that, because this is a big energy release. If we look at these circumstances or stressors in our lives and ask it, what benefit are you in my life for? In what way am I to benefit from your presence? That's its only purpose. Has anybody ever grown and advanced during real easy, simple times? The only time that we actually grow and evolve is during the difficult times. But guess what? We can move to a much faster pace, and we can unload the burden of stress by shifting our perception about the stressors in our lives. Take a look at them as, how can this benefit me? What is its purpose in my life, and how can I benefit by that? Not, oh, I'm burdened by this issue that destroys my life. That is agreeing that it's there for the purpose of destroying us. And that is never. That's like a weightlifter going into the gym and declaring that all the weights are there to threaten their well-being. They could break my foot. I could drop it on my neck and kill myself. It's perception. It's a false perception, and we keep destroying our energy through false perceptions. Okay, let's take a look at other ways that we are shorting out our energy production systems. Now, do you have something,
I
David?
thought you were going to ask a question. What's the other ones?
Well, what I want to look at is there's a cascading effect here that starts out by our converting more energy into accomplishment than we have available. Anybody guilty of that?
What do you mean? I don't get it, do you? You get it?
The main expenditure, okay, if we look at energy as we would money, the main place where we spend our energy is in accomplishment, right? Doing things. Right? And every adult I know is guilty of overexpending themselves in accomplishments. Getting to the end of the day and having spent all their energy and collapsing in bed at night and basically passing out. And if there's any energy left, glance around and see what else could be done right quick to use up that last little bit of energy and then collapse in bed. Anybody know anybody that does something like that? Okay. As we talked about a little while ago, the body has got to rest to provide time to neutralize the acid waste from cellular function, or to be able to neutralize it and eliminate it. Now, the body's number one choice for alkalizing minerals is organic sodium. This is the reason why, look how many years they told us salt is a poison, get away from salt. And nobody was consuming enough organic sodium, like from celery and vegetables. And so without enough salt, the body lacked electrolytes. You couldn't maintain a proper balance of the electrolytes in the bloodstream even. Now that we realize, oh my gosh, that's totally wrong, everybody in the room here, of course, is consuming healthy salt on your food. Okay? But there's one other component that we need to focus a little bit more on. See, the salt is dirt, but you can maintain the electrolyte balance in your blood with dirt, with that type of sodium. But you need the organic form to neutralize acid waste. And the main storage site in the body for organic sodium is in the bile. And this is the basis, this is the true basis for gallbladder problems and gallstones, is when the bile becomes too acidic because there isn't enough alkaline organic sodium to neutralize the acids. When that reserve is gone, the bile starts becoming acidic, and the person can develop a duodenal ulcer. It starts irritating the lining of the gallbladder, and the body will use calcium then to sedate that stress of the acidity, because calcium is alkaline also. But after time, the calcium will start forming a shell on the outside of the cholesterol balls, creating gallstones. Then the acidity of the bile will irritate the lining of the bladder, and the doctor will look and say, oh my gosh, you have gallstones and they're irritating your gallbladder. But the truth is, both have the same cause, a deficiency of organic sodium. So along with putting salt on our food to maintain our electrolyte balance, look at what an advantage that is to make sure that we get enough sodium from an organic form to neutralize the acid waste. Because here's an experience that I'm sure that some of us can relate to. Getting up in the morning feeling somewhat refreshed, maybe a little bit stiff, walk around, get to moving a little bit, start feeling a little bit more limber, but feel fatigued. What is happening is, in a case like that, which is fairly common, there isn't enough alkalizing minerals to neutralize that much acid waste. And so all night long while you're sleeping, the body is stuffing the tissue with this acid waste to clear the bloodstream. You get up in the morning feeling a little bit stiff and you start moving around a little bit. You have a fair amount of energy when you first get up. After moving around for 15-20 minutes, energy starts dropping and you start feeling more limber. Well, basically what you're doing is you're milking all those excess acids out of tissue storage into the bloodstream and poisoning yourself. So that's the reason why it's very, very important for us to hold in our minds a clear picture of what I call the flow of detoxification, which I reviewed a few minutes ago with the lymph moving and coming into the bloodstream, the liver filtering it, gallbladder, intestinal tract, and out the back door. We got to get that stuff completely out of the body, because any excess acids or the chemicals, metals, all this toxic waste is again destroying our energy production. And as we get that back pressure into the individual cells, we shut down both methods of energy production. There's where we really get into serious trouble. I don't know how many of you saw the CVAC that we had in here last year or seen that unit, but what it does is it it simulates going to a high altitude and coming back down, going back and forth. And what that does is it works the pressure, works all the cells in the body so diligently that it actually forces all these trillions of cells to poop. Getting that waste material out of the individual cells so that the mitochondria can reproduce and start producing energy again. Guess what? Same thing happens when you jump on a trampoline. In a milder way, it does the same thing. It moves the lymph and allows the cell. See, every time you jump on a trampoline, it exercises every cell in the body because the G-force collapses every cell in the entire body, even in the brain. It collapses the cell and the cell pushes back. It's like an exercise that exercises every single cell. Well, you keep working the cells like that, and what are they going to do? They're going to poop. And that's what we got to do, is get the poop out of all the cells. Then get the poop moving from the lymph through that flow of detoxification and finally out the back door. Joanne, did you have a question?
Yeah. Do you think there are any benefits to drinking alkalized water? Alkalized water has kept my pH very alkaline. I don't get sick.
It depends on how it's produced and how clean it is. There's a lot of controversies, and I was thinking that it was in opposition to ionized water. But it's actually the machines that are not getting the water clean enough. But if you have clean water, ionized, it's great. But the big thing is a lot of the machines that were so popular weren't cleaning the water, so it had drawbacks that caused observations of, hey, this isn't good. Yes, David?
So the number one thing that ionizes in water alkalizing machines is the tourmaline in the filter beforehand. That creates the negative ORP oxidative reduction. And if Robert Slovak was here, he would tell you that all of its bunk, structuring, ionization, microclusters, and particularly alkalizing. The key thing that Kangen and other machines do when they're working right is in the beginning at slow speed they're liberating hydrogen. And the future will be focused on talking about hydrogen liberation, but they had to make it seem more complicated because hydrogen is kind of a simple thing and it is really the key to the body, and that's another thing that the medical and pharmaceutical system will pound like tomorrow if it becomes oversimplified. Dr. Ricola, David Wolf, Gabriel Cousins, Fred Van Loo, they all, over the past years, have moved away from alkalized water. And alkalizing the body, yes, but not through greens and other things, deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, but not alkalized water.
Okay, basically, if you go to a country stream and you take a look at what makes that so valuable, you'll have several factors there. If you can duplicate what nature does, you've got great water. Okay, as the water is tumbling, it's pulling minerals from the rocks. It will saturate. In fact, when everybody was going to Hunsland and saying, oh my gosh, it's all the minerals in the water, because the water was really muddy, so it must be heavily mineraled, so that must be the secret to it. And then it was, what was his name? Patrick Flanagan saw through what everybody else was seeing, and he was pointing out, no, it's actually the water vortexing as it's coming down with the minerals, because the minerals in the water, in that motion of vortexing, actually puts an energy charge into the water. And so when you test it, the water will have a good ORP level, it'll have a lot of energy, and it will also have a pH of approximately 8, which is slightly alkaline. It isn't ridiculously alkaline. It'll have the minerals in it, oxygen, and energy. If you can duplicate that, you got great water. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that Dr. Batman-Jelig, you can get a whole list of great accomplishments that was being touted by the alkaline water. Dr. Batman-Jelig was able to accomplish all of that with tap water, which pointed out the most important thing is most people are not drinking enough water. Dehydration is a bigger issue than exactly what water. If you got really clean water, and if it could be mineralized and vortexed or oxygenated, whatever enhancements is great, but make sure that it's clean. It's kind of tough to find in Southern California, and you can put your own minerals in it if you have to. Yes, ma'am.
His book is available on Audible.
On what?
The Body's Many Cries for Water. It's available on Audible.
On Audible. What is Audible?
Listening.
Listening.
Yeah, it's audible.com.
Books.
Audible.com?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Batman-Jelig's book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, it's kind of basic 101, very, very important reading because, of course, we are at least 70% water. And talk about energy again. What frequency are we carrying in all of that water?
528.
Yeah, we wish. You think about how easily water is programmed. Whatever we put our bodies, whatever environment we put our bodies in, we're programming our water by the music we listen to, the people that we surround ourselves by, the environment that we live in. There are so many things that influence and program the water that we are. Yes?
Speaking of music, frequencies, you can listen to different music with different frequencies for healing. Or do you think they're good?
Well, Dr. Emoto showed how that works. In fact, because what he would do is he would expose water to different types of music, and it made a huge difference. What he would do is take the
Different frequencies?
different frequencies, Mozart or heavy metal, and the difference was night and day, as you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it's fun, but you take kids, and kids are simple to learn this one, but you have them come into a room and you play classical music for them, and they can hate it, and you have them hold their arm out, and you show them how strong they are, and then you turn that music off and you put their jump music on, and no matter how hard they try and hold their arm up, it's like rubber. Because the strength of our muscles is a good indicator of how healthy or unhealthy our environment is. And so music, electromagnetics, everything influences us.
Listening to music that has good healing frequencies will help your energy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. See, that's an influence. Keep in mind that we're bags of water that we can program. And so, rather than leaving it to chance, you put beautiful music on and it programs the water. Great idea. There's another way one more little additional way of charging the energy of the body. And this is what tonight is all about, is as we review all of these things, the ways that we destroy the energy or the way that we expend our energy when we don't allow the body rest time during the daytime. You take, this is a principle with machinery. If you ran a machine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it wouldn't take long till the metal fatigued and started breaking. But you give it a day to rest, and it will last many, many years longer. And the human body is the same way. It is designed to go so many days, and then have a day of complete rest so that it can recover. And if we don't give it that day of rest, there's another example of how we stress the metal, you could say, and cause it to malfunction.
Could you repeat that? I missed the beginning when you said this woman took herbs to move her bowels, herb tea to move her bowels, and then she didn't eat for so long. And how did that work about her?
I was just showing that where she wasn't eating, she had so much more energy, 24 hours a day.
Is she alive?
Yeah.
Is she eating?
She's living. I haven't been in contact with her for a few years, but from her words, she said there was a time where she and her husband went on a vacation back to Italy, and she started tasting some of the foods that she knew before, and she says that she will never do that again because it brought her energy level down to the level where we are familiar, and she says, I'll never do that again. It's such an experience to have that much life force moving through my body that I never want to experience that again. Yes, Dave?
So there's a programming and a conditioning in this country, in farming and enslaving us, that says, you know, if you take a nap during the day, you're lazy. You're not getting enough done. And by the way, you should be multitasking while you're listening to Mick's lecture. You should be on your phone, and you should be doing this because, boy, you're an accomplished person there. So all these things have been part of a conditioning system to put us deeper into the matrix. Meaning, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but there's these social values or mores or whatever there are that over the past decade to 20
Belief
years,
system.
yeah, have, or as Nurko would say, limiting beliefs, or Tony Robbins, that have just been seeping in. We got to have both parents working. We got to be multitasking. I mean, I knew a guy that studied health like there was no tomorrow, except he would sit in front of the TV with the sound down, listening to the radio while he was reading the newspaper and looking at his cell phone. Well, he's in another universe right now.
Right. Yes.
So then, besides taking one day of rest, also we should be taking a nap during the day.
If your body says you need a nap, see, this is the difference between us and kids. See, when we were kids, if we were playing so hard and we got tuckered out, we'd lay down on the floor and go to sleep. To heck with social graces. Now as adults, it's like, oh, well, I can't do that. I got to burn the candle at both ends till bedtime. If we could all just listen. First of all, take all these beliefs, like David was pointing out, they're all beliefs. Where do we hold our beliefs? Right here. All beliefs are part of the little house of horrors. If we could take all of them and run them through a shredder, what are we left with? Intuitive guidance, which is wisdom that is accurate and spot on every single time. If we allow that to guide us, it would say, yeah, you need a nap. And when it says you need a nap, or just to kick back, you don't need to sleep. You need to rest. Just kick back and just relax. Might be the perfect time to go out and charge your battery in the sun at the same time as getting rest. There's a great excuse to take 20 minutes out in the sun every day. In the afternoon, when you start feeling your energy kind of drop, instead of listening to an old commercial that says that you're supposed to grab a Snickers bar at that time, you go out and charge your battery in the sun.
Nick, you said something so important just now that's overlooked because it's part of belief systems. Rest, meaning horizontal, lower heartbeat, different breathing rate, maybe meditation, but people feel...
And clear the mind.
People believe, you know what, I'm not sleeping, I'm not unconscious, so I'm wasting my time,
Yeah.
I gotta get up.
Good point.
They forgot what it's like just to rest,
Yeah.
to do nothing in the sense of doing everything.
Right. Actually, talk about a daily habit that would be very powerful for everyone, is to take that 20 minutes to just kick back in the sun in a recliner or a lawn chair, charge your battery, clear your brain, Get rid of cell phones and all the electronics, get them away from you. Don't take calls, don't take texts, don't take nothing but sunshine for 20 minutes and just rest. You talk about a very powerful boost for every single person that would do that. Keep the water content up, the sunshine, fresh air. You know, oftentimes a person will think, because from the same sources Dave was talking about, they say, that's why we're all screwed up. We keep listening to what they say. But if a person, instead of waiting until you can do that 5-mile walk that overstresses the body and breaks the body down, go for a quick 3-block walk 3 times a day, something like that. Just short, fast walks that don't stress the body, but will get everything moving and charge you, get fresh air moving to oxygenate the whole body periodically through the day. Be a whole lot better.
But society's taught us.
What's that?
To hold up, society's taught us to hold out for perfection. Well, if you don't do that 2-mile walk or that 3 thing, you know.
Well, that just got shredded with all the other garbage in the brain.
Right.
The whole belief system. We're not going to be picky and decide, okay, but I like that belief and that belief. Nah, just run it all through. If there's anything worthwhile, you'll pick it up again. Right? Yes, ma'am.
I think I find for myself that breathing, taking the time to breathe deeply, I can typically be a shallow breather.
Oh, that's very rare.
But-
Nobody else shallow breathes, right?
Need to breathe.
Very good. We have to, unfortunately, consciously breathe. And two, you know, here's a very, you know, we'll get back into multitasking here. But on those short, quick walks, if you think about it, here's a very powerful way of really oxygenating the entire body. As you walk, doing your fast walk, if you were to just in your mind count to 7 as you inhale, count to 7 as you hold it, count to 7 as you exhale, and here's the tough one, you count to 7 with your lungs empty, and then you 7, fill your lungs again, hold it for 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Very powerful way of detoxifying and consciously breathing. You know, the neat thing is, as we think about all that we're talking about tonight, if we can make a mental note of all the things that we can develop into a daily habit, even if they just take a few seconds, now instead of being in total self-destruct, see, as long as we have these meat bags, we're going to be self-destructive. That's just a given. But keep in mind, it's a whole lot better to be somewhere down around 1% self-destructive instead of 100% self-destructive. So it's a transitional process. And the closer we get to that shallow end of the self-destruct pool, the better off we'll be. But to do that, it takes, see, what is destroying us is our self-destructive lifestyle habits. The only thing that will save us is self-supportive lifestyle habits. Habits. Yes, ma'am.
So what about going to the gym and riding your bike, things like that? Because if you overdo it, you're wasting all your energy. But yet you should be doing some
Should?
stuff. So
Are we going to be shooting on ourselves again? Okay, even better than going to the gym is, what sport do you like to play, or what thing do you like to do?
ride my bike.
Okay, wouldn't that be better rather than being stuck inside of a gym to get on your bike and just go for a fun bike ride?
Yeah, but I do like 3-hour bike rides. That's why I'm saying I get exhausted when I do that, but I like to.
And why do you do that? You like to do that.
Yeah.
Why? What is it about it
The
that you like?
challenge.
The challenge. Who put you up to that? What belief challenged you to exhaust yourself?
I have fun doing it.
Check out, spend time contemplating on the driving force behind that. Because we all have drivers that drive us to do dumb things. And when you spend enough time contemplating the driving force that motivated this enjoyment, you'll discover that it's not so innocent.
Amen.
And it isn't supportive. And I bet you can have just as much fun going on a nice, enjoyable bike ride that doesn't tax every cell in your body and make you feel like you just got beat up when you got finished. But just spend time contemplating on the subject and think about what is the driving force behind it.
Or the fastest, simplest, easiest thing for 5 or 10 minutes, the bungee cord rebounder. That's going back to being a little kid.
Yes.
Simple, fast, easy, boom.
You like to ride bicycles though, but actually every single person, you know, for years, have you heard anything about our bungee cord trampolines?
You know, I want to send her a letter that says it's quite amazing how nothing has come to fruition. I went there and I tested both of them. I did not like what she had.
They missed it, huh?
Yes.
Anyway, so far we had a really good trampoline for years and years and years with springs, kind of squeaky, noisy, but it had a great bounce and it was reasonably priced. Then for the quality of the trampoline, they priced themselves out too far out. But anyway, we ran into Jump Sport, and it's a really nice, comfortable bungee cord trampoline. David connected with a woman that claimed that they were going to produce, last October, wasn't it? They were going to produce a similar quality for a good price. But the Jump Sport is $250. That's great because of what you get, because it gives you the same bounce as a $600 bungee cord trampoline for $250. So my suggestion is that everybody should have one of those bungee cord trampolines, because whatever you do, do not go to a sports store or something and get one of these $35 or $50 ones. They'll screw your knees up. You want a really comfortable, soft, bouncing trampoline. Yes?
And you have to be prepared to share it with your grandkids when they're over.
You know, when we got the Jump Sport in here,
Do you still have it?
yeah, it's in the other room. After having such a good bounce on that other one, I'm always skeptical because we had NEDAC. We brought a NEDAC in years ago and had it right beside the squeaky spring-loaded trampoline. And after jumping on both, I didn't want to get back onto the NEDAC. It was just too stiff. Well, we brought the Jump Sport in and had it and our squeaky spring. And I jumped on the squeaky spring and then I went over to the other one. And for the first time, it was a feeling of, dang, this one is actually fun. You know, the soft bungee cord jump is so gentle that it actually gives you a thrill of feeling of fun instead of, I'm working out now.
And totally quiet.
Totally quiet, those bungee cords.
Which one do you like? Which one are you talking about that's good?
The one that's
Jump
usually
Sport?
right here, Jump
The
Sport.
Jump Sport.
Jump Sport.
That's the one that feels good.
Bungee, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's adjustable too. You can adjust it.
No,
No?
Not the Jump Sport.
Yeah, the one I have is adjustable.
it has, one has a foldable, so it can fold over a little bit, but not adjustable.
And that's the one where you can buy the
It wasn't
railing.
supposed to be adjusted. Pull down, tear up.
I
arr.
actually bought the Jump Sport even before. That was the first one I ever bought, like 4 years ago.
They used to be adjustable?
Well, the one I.
There are some models that are.
Yeah,
Oh, they
there's
are?
model-
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
have
can.
they have multiple models.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can-
All right. Anyway, if you want one, Janice can grab you one.
Grab you one what?
A Jump Sport.
She's good. That one here?
Anyway, there's very little equipment that a person needs besides your bicycle. That's good.
Right?
Great piece of equipment. And if you have a swimming pool anywhere around, that is excellent because that gets the mobility into the body. It exercises everything. Swimming is definitely one of the very best all-around exercises for the body. The reason why I love the little trampoline is because the fact that it exercises every cell in the body all at the same time. It washes all the cells in the body, which of course when you stop and think, that is one of the most important ways of conserving our cellular energy and getting those little guys back to work, because by jumping on a trampoline and washing the cells and moving that lymph, if you do it on a daily basis, it cleans the cells, it cleans around the cells, and you put the trillions of cells back to work as generators. There's nothing that works better than the trampoline for accomplishing
And
that.
it burns more calories.
And it
all the
burns
time.
calories, yes. It's great exercise.
What do you suggest the amount of time?
Either 10 minutes 3 times or 15 minutes twice, whatever fits into your schedule.
A day?
Yes.
10 minutes or 15 minutes?
10 minutes 3 times or 15 minutes twice.
Plus, a rebounder will do 2 things that almost nothing else will do. It'll work strengthening the eyes, which is a very hard thing to do. You know, you can't lift weights with your eyelids and stuff, but a rebounder will. And a rebounder, even though whole body vibration is all the rage, and a lot of them put out EMF, a rebounder, in the way the bungee ones are, and the cycles of the bounce is very good for learning and memory imprinting. And while you're jumping, if you're maybe you want to listen to something to learn, it really imprints it in the body with a bounce rhythm. Just like how people would do double Dutch, particularly the girls when they're young. I mean, whatever they were saying back then, they can remember later on in life, because that frequency bounce impregnates learning methods that you hear audibly as well. It's quite powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't you jump for half an hour once a day?
Well, you could.
Too boring.
What?
It's tiring.
You could, but you'd get tired of it, and you want to do something that you will turn into a daily habit. If you prefer 30 minutes one time, it'll work
That's
fine.
okay. Do you, I mean, I would put some kind of
Yeah,
soothing frequency music on.
30 minutes. You're
that'd work, but
It's
it would just work better 15 minutes twice.
credit. It's tough.
To answer this lady in the King's question,
Why is it boring?
generally instead of working out longer, you work out more effectively. I'll hit high intensity training interval or variable interval. So what you would start to do, instead of going to 30 minutes, you'll jump deeper and harder in 10 minutes. And then you'll start to use hand weights at 2 pounds or 5 pounds at the same time. And you will have the equivalent of what an unaltered thing would be for 30 minutes. You've just improved the workout while being time efficient.
There are so many ways to utilize a trampoline. Just using your own leg weight, either forward or backward. Like David's saying, use weights, because every time you jump, a 2-pound weight gets multiplied several times. So, you know, it's just a very convenient total body exercise program.
And you
Okay.
can jump in the sun.
You can jump in the sun.
The pool.
Okay, let's review the simple things that we can do on a daily basis to generate more energy. Now, before we get into generating more, let's take a look at what we're doing where we're wasting energy. Okay? False perceptions is probably one of the bigger ones. What are you sacrificing your life for? Because that's really what we're talking about here. Life energy. What is it that you're sacrificing your life for? Is it really that important? Are you misperceiving certain things in life that maybe by shifting your thoughts about it, you can conserve more energy instead of grinding? You take a look at the process of worry. Worry is worse than sitting in one place spinning your wheels. It is an absolute dead short waste of life. It doesn't accomplish anything. Take a look at an issue in life and decide, what can I do about it, if anything, and if not, then shift your focus into another direction. Okay? So look at Stressors are a very powerful drain of the energy. Food. Keep in mind the example that I gave you before of the difference between a grape and a slice of white bread. When you look at the nutritional content of food compared to the amount of nutrition, how much energy does it take your body to break that substance down, extract the nutrients, process and eliminate the waste material? The scale goes from the slice of white bread down to a grape. The grape takes practically nothing to break it down and put it into the bloodstream, provide you energy. The slice of white bread will work your body too hard and give you back practically nothing. You remember the example of the two groups of dogs? The one group of dogs that gave nothing to all month long but water, and at the end of the month they were vital and healthy and raring to go. The other group, they gave them all the water they wanted and then allowed them to eat all the white bread that they wanted. And the bodies of all these dogs were fatigued to death in 2 weeks, showing the deficit of everything that we eat. If it's a large volume of substance with very small amount of nutrition in it, it's going to give you a deficit of energy. This is the reason why at this end, at the fresh fruits and vegetable end of the scale, it's a whole lot more energy here than the casseroles and the heavy, dense foods that don't have much energy in. Okay? So the food is a big deal. Hydration is a very, very important point. All you have to do is take a look at your urine. It should be sunshine yellow and clear. If it's darker than that, you're dehydrating. Very simple. Dehydration is so destructive at the cellular level. There are very few things that could be more destructive than allowing the body to get to that concentration. If you have anywhere near an amber urine, you just destroyed billions of cells during the last few hours. It's that serious. It should always be sunshine yellow or clear.
So 1 day a week we should not eat anything? Would that be?
That would be ideal. To just have
Just drink
water
water?
for 24 hours once a week. That allows the body to reset everything. The brain kind of freaks out at times, but
What if I got weak? What would I do then?
change your thoughts and drink another glass of water. Because it
Well,
would,
they told me I'm dehydrated. They tell me that all the time.
you'd look a little dehydrated.
I do? Well, when they say you put your skin up like that, doesn't fall down, you're dehydrated. Well, I'm better than I was. I'm working on the water.
Okay, keep in mind for hydration that salt is absolutely essential because it's salt that moves water through the body. And if you don't move your water, you're dehydrated, no matter how much water you drink.
Salt moves the water through the body?
Salt moves the water through the
Well,
body.
should we get celery salt or regular, real salt?
Real salt.
C, all the above.
Well, you know what, I also heard you put salt in water, and it doesn't dissolve, and it's not dissolving in your body. And I had a combination of different salts, and I had pink salt in there. When I put it in water, I didn't see the white salt, but the pink salt didn't dissolve. So I thought, that's a Himalayan salt.
Well, the Himalayan salt and the real salt, they're going to have sand in them, and too, because of information that we were given again by Robert Slovak, you stop and think about Sedona and places with the red rocks. What is the red color?
Iron?
Iron. So what I've been thinking about lately is finding the Celtic salt in large enough quantities to where we can make that available, because we got enough scrap metal inside of our bodies. We don't
You
need
know, I was
more.
thinking Celtic must be the best,
Mhm.
better than Himalayan. Why are they all claiming the Himalayan is better?
Because they're selling salt.
Because what?
They're selling salt, marketing. You know, you find that the more money that is being put behind something, the more difficult it is to move, so you have to have more money to push it. How many commercials for carrots do you see?
But, by the way, what is the quintessential example of what you just said? Is Red Bull. Their advertising and marketing budget is like $12 billion a year. They sponsor a whole race team. This is to pump this poison into people. It's unbelievable.
Great example, yes, yes. The only thing more powerful than that is bribe your way into getting the government to sell your products for you, like under the guise of mandatory vaccinations, things like that. It's the only thing more evil than Red Bull.
What was it you said? I didn't hear that. Was it so bad?
I was just agreeing.
Okay, let's do a few more things. What else can we do on a daily basis? Daily habits that we can perform.
You put a smile on your face and you think of great thoughts, you will automatically increase your energy. Maybe your dog makes you happy licking your face, think about that, and put a smile on your face even though you don't want to. Putting that in the position will probably generate more energy.
Anybody believe that?
No, I don't.
Hey,
I don't at all.
Okay, what is another synonym for the word energy? How can you tell that a kitten has enough energy?
Playful.
Youthful.
Playful. It's expressing joy. Now, when you think about it, joy comes in the form of smiles or whatever you love to do or whatever subject matter you love. But joy is like a fire. You can have a pile of wood here, but if there's no heat, do you have a fire? No. Where there's a fire, there's going to be the emanation of heat. Where there is energy, or its synonym, joy, there's got to be emanations. What is the emanations of joy? Smile on the face, light in the eyes, right? There are emanations. Now, when you think about that word as an easy to consider synonym for energy, keep in mind that joy will never be imprisoned. And if we are stressing, basically what we do is we squeeze the joy out of the body. Now, if I had a meter here, and I could check the joy levels within the body, if it's down by 30 or 40 or 50%, where is that joy? If the meter says that it's not in the body, where in the heck is it? Because remember, the laws of physics say that you cannot destroy energy. Where in the heck is it?
Transferred.
Transferred. Out. Having fun without you.
Is your joy having fun without me? Great.
Now, it would happily come back, but what do we have to do?
Make a home for it.
We have to make a home for it. We have to give it permission to express itself in our bodies. That's all. And that starts out by putting certain things on the calendar for opportunities to express that. But when you stop and think, it's like years ago I went to the fair over here, and I'll never forget, as soon as I came up to the little corral here, there were two little baby goats. And if you've ever seen baby goats within a week old, they're balls of fire. They're worse than kittens. And you know, their front legs bend backwards like that, you know, and they got little knee pads. And this little guy, as soon as I got up there, he came running from clear to the other side, and he slid on those little knee pads right up underneath his mother and grabbed on and started nursing. And she just walked away like, oh, you again? And instead of being like a little human kid sitting there, and, oh, Mom doesn't love me anymore, she walked away. None of this. He just looked like, okay, now what? And he ran over and jumped onto this bale of straw there by his little brother or sister, and they were standing there, and you could just feel the energy vibrating, and he didn't know what else to do, and he almost did a backflip off from that. He had so much energy, he just flipped off, and just, you could feel it. It was just like contagious. And kittens sometimes, you think, come on, kitten, it's been an hour, that same little piece of yarn, give it a break. If we had that much energy, we could just sit there and watch the grass grow and we'd be ecstatic. So what we're talking about is the volume of joy in the body, and it's a choice. We can either give it permission to come back and support it in our lifestyle habits that generates more of it and supports it being present, and we don't destroy it. We review all the things that we've talked about here tonight, and we become joy supportive instead of joy contracting. We're kind of like candles in a jar. We can either keep the lid off and let the candle burn, or put the stress on, which is like putting the lid on the jar and put the candle out. That's where we squeeze the joy out of the body, because we are obligated, we're responsible, we have all these perceptions given to us by other people that try and tell us how we should live our lives. And we're not listening to our own guide of how we should live our own personal life. Life tells us you can either do it the easy way or the hard way. It's up to you. We, of course, figure out how to do it the hard way. But if we stop and if we'll just listen and obey our intuitive guidance, just listen and obey, not question it, just listen and obey. That's the easy way. It can guide us in the easiest, best way through life. That's the shortcut to graduation. Yes, David?
So to get more joy, using those goats as an example, they're grounded, they're playing, they're in the sunshine. But the interesting thing is they're not texting, they don't have a smartphone, they're not on a smart TV, and they don't have EMF on. I would encourage everybody to strongly be aware of smart meters around, and that they turn their Wi-Fi off at night, and that they do not have their cell phone on. They put it in airplane mode and they keep it at least 5 feet away from where they're at night, 4 feet, as well as their cordless phones. Those are all energy sucks, big time, huge time. In fact, I was just chatting with Donna. She had 2 devices on here for a while. I had a device on. You had a device. No, you had a device, and in this room alone, there could be so much EMF going on. It's unbelievable. And even when we turn our Wi-Fi off, density of housing proximity these days, you turn on and you see, every neighbor's got the
You got
Wi-Fi
10, a list of 10
Yeah.
Wi-Fi's around you, yeah. The more aware we are, actually, let's go to a higher principle than totally avoiding exposure. As much as we can, we need to avoid exposure. Speaking of electromagnetic energy, the power companies, they're continually surging. The type of transformers they have are so antiquated that basically we're being forced to buy more electricity than we use, and every appliance that gets this electricity crammed into it beyond its ability to use it, it's like all the excess comes out into the room as EMFs. I have a friend that actually has invented a better type of transformer, and hopefully one day that's the transformers that we'll all be using. And what it does is the appliance draws the energy that it needs. It's not being forced into the appliance the way they are right now. In fact, you can get units right now to put, if you own your own home, you can put it out by your meter, and it will stop the spiking. It's kind of like the surge protectors. It's a big surge protector that stops all that from being bombarded into your home.
It's like not overeating. It takes exactly what it needs, no more.
Yeah. But you know, until that point, let's take a look at another principle that goes beyond what we can avoid. You know, it's one thing to avoid exposure as much as we can, but there's a great example that shares a principle that we need to really work with, and that is a group of scientists use sheep to determine how destructive electromagnetics really are. And so they built a pen right under those great big power lines, because with the sheep, with the billions of curly antennae on top of their back, of course, they're going to pick up all that radiation and go right into their bodies. And so they'd be the perfect specimen to see how destructive electromagnetics really are. And month after month they kept testing the sheep, and they found nothing. And then finally, after scratching their head trying to figure this out, because they knew that these poor sheep were getting bombarded with electromagnetics like crazy, those big old power lines just humming away, radiating all this electricity. And then they realized those sharp little hooves had them so well grounded to the earth that the electromagnetics just went right through their bodies, grounded out, and didn't do them any harm whatsoever. And so if we utilize the same principle and realize that we're all being exposed to chemicals, metals, and all this garbage, electromagnetics, all of it, if we can figure out how to keep the pathways open and not be holding on to this stuff, let the chemicals, metals, and everything flow on through, exposure then is no longer threatening. But if we're backing all this stuff up around the cells, and even getting an accumulation within the cell, we're killing ourselves. So let's keep that flow of detoxification going. That's the advantage of the consistent detox baths. I know that sometimes it seems like a hassle. Oh man, it's that time again, detox bath. But it's the simplest way of pulling those chemicals, metals, and garbage right out through the skin, cleaning both the blood and the lymph. And the liver doesn't have to even look at this stuff anymore. Then consistently doing the gallbladder flushes, keeping the intestinal tract clearing, just keeping that whole flow going, jumping on the trampoline to wash all the cells. If we keep all this clearing, this is the main way that we can protect the energy production system within our bodies, is make sure that all the waste material is continually being eliminated faster than we're accumulating it. Then the energy goes up. The number one cause for the destruction of our energy is not only the food, but it's the food residue. It's kind of like a person getting chemotherapy. You know, you just think because of everything that we see that the chemotherapy causes everybody to go bald, right? No, I've taken people that are on full-fledged chemotherapy, and they continued. That was their choice to keep getting bombarded with the chemotherapy, and I helped them grow a full head of hair while they were going through chemotherapy. It's the accumulative residue that poisons the body and destroys the hair. It can happen with any of us. When we accumulate too much residue from our environment, saturating the lymphatic system, we'll lose our hair, we'll destroy our cells, we'll load the cells and destroy them. So opening up that flow and keeping all this waste material moving out of the body. We don't have to run and hide from exposure. It's okay to be exposed to whatever degree we're going to be exposed, but let's just don't hold on to this stuff. Let it out. Let it go.
You want to go first? Go ahead.
There's a Somebody gave me an earthing mat
Mhm.
Christmas year before last.
Yes.
Supposed to like ground you with the same electro field as the earth. I don't know anything about it except it was a gift. Are you?
Well, any of these grounding mats or any of that is similar to what we were talking about of going and digging your feet into the sand. Of course, the sand is going to be much more effective, and it depends on, with a grounding mat, you know, it's good that all homes have grounding in every plug-in. You know, the little round peg is a grounding. You can plug all these items into that round peg and ground yourself out. In fact, while you're working at your computer, if you can get yourself to develop this habit, it would be a great habit to get into, but you can go to Marvac or one of the electronic places, and they have a little expandable band that you can put on your wrist, and it has a coily little plug-in. You snap it on, and you plug it in, and it grounds you out. Put it on your left wrist. That's the way we take in energy, is from the left side. So you put it on your left wrist, and while you're working at the computer or around electromagnetics, it will ground all this out into the grounding of the house, of the building, and it doesn't go into your body. And then if you want to get up and move, it snaps off really quick, and you keep the bracelet on, and when you come back, you just plug in again.
Where do you get it?
Marvac on Harbor, that's the only place that I know of, probably Fry's. But see, anybody that works with electronics have to have these, because static electricity that we accumulate in the body, you grab one of those little electronic components and you can blow the component out. So they have to be grounded out while they're working on them.
So, just two things real quick. If you go to lessemf.com, you can get silver threaded impregnated sheets that go to the grounding, and at night you can become grounded. But pillowcases too. Lessemf.com.
LESS?
Yes.
LESS,
Yes.
EMF.com. But I wanted to proffer something very quickly before you finish. You stated, why do we need to sleep so much? To eliminate the acid waste in digestion, etc. But I wanted to proffer an alternative thought, considering you talk about the body as a meat bag, and I want to just put something out. We would first have to agree that more is not always better.
More what? More sleep?
Of anything, more of something doesn't always make it better.
Chronic
right?
fatigue person proves that.
Okay. So here's an alternative reality point of view. Why do we sleep so much? And the answer is to get to an alternative reality of brain waves in an alternate state, alpha, beta, gamma into REM, that there's a school of thought that the main purpose we're here is not to have 16 hours of waking, but to have 8 hours of sleep where we go into an alternate reality. We astral project and travel, and we do things that are quite amazing. And it's a very alternate concept, because we're almost always thinking kinesthetic physical, but maybe the real purpose of our existence is to be asleep 8 hours out of 24 hours. That sounds very way out there, but in a dream state, you can do things and go places, except most of us don't think about that much and focus on it, because the veil is created when you do not write down and journal what it is you were dreaming about, because that reality switches off very quickly in our hectic world. So I just want to throw that alternate concept out there. I'm not saying it is, it's just a thought.
All right. What we need to do, first of all, though, is stop destroying our energy and figure out how to get charge into the battery. Now, one more thing, and then we'll close out for tonight. Focus on 3 areas of the body that are vitally important to take care of. It's kind of like the receptacle in the wall that you plug your appliances into. These 3 areas of the body are the brain, the adrenal glands, and the liver. If we take good care of all 3 of those, we get juice. Okay? Besides looking at all the cells in the body, those are the 3 main organs. The brain is a Houston control center. The liver is the entire chemistry laboratory of the body, and the adrenal glands are the jet packs that allow us to go beyond our limits when we need to. We need those adrenal glands. And you know, when you stop and think about it, the adrenal glands are kind of a barometer that tells us how we're doing in life, because if we're honoring fear too much, our adrenal glands can tell us, because we stress the adrenal glands. As we master our difficulties and we start mastering life, we get a better charge in our adrenal glands, and they become healthier. In the meantime, there are ways that we can support all three. Now, keeping the blood cleaner, stronger, and healthier, obviously the brain is going to score better than any part of the body, because the brain is going to take better care of itself. It's going to use up 20%, even though it's a smaller part of the whole body, it's going to utilize 20% of the whole fuel of the entire body. It's going to demand clean blood. It's going to demand what it needs, because it's got the controls. And so the healthier we are, the healthier the brain will be. So everything that we've talked about for getting the little energy producers working better, keeping the blood and lymph cleaner, the brain is going to function better and be able to control the whole body better. Then as far as the chemistry laboratory is concerned, if you've got the trash can backed up and you're backing up the waste in the liver, there are at least 500 vital functions of that liver that are now being inhibited because it's being overwhelmed as a filter. And so consistent gallbladder flushes is going to help in so many ways, because if that chemistry lab functions better because of clearing the trash out, the whole body is going to do better. And then the third thing is the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands have to have a whole food vitamin C and pantothenic acid on a daily basis. It's just like, that's their food. They have to have that. And so what I've done is I've put flower pollen, same thing as bee pollen, but only without the ragweed and all the other garbage and the molds and everything. It's pure rye pollen harvested with machines to provide you the best source of pantothenic acid. And then we use amla, which is Indian gooseberry, for the complete food vitamin C. We put that in all the essential lights. It's in the Metabel, it's in the Essential Light Complete, all of those, because everybody needs that. That's food for the adrenal gland. That's why it says on the jar, adrenal essential light. It's to feed the adrenal glands. If your adrenal glands have been beat up so bad that they need extra support, then we have capsules of the herbs that will specifically support the rehealing of the adrenal glands. Okay? So take care of the brain, liver, and adrenal glands. You'll be happier.
Best way to take care of the brain.
Best way to take care of the brain? Exercise it on the trampoline. You exercise every brain cell in the cranium. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. I hope you learned something. Thank you. You're welcome.